My name is Ray Keeley. I'm 68 years of age and I'm retired 1 year, 6 months. My retirement occurred when I lost a contract I had with a large state body. In effect, fate was pushing me into retirement. Since then, I've had a few ups and downs, needless to say. Retirement is difficult for people. But I joined the men's shed and that has helped me to keep my feet on the ground. I recommend it highly to anybody. Now, of course, retirement is not necessarily put to bed by the men's shed, but it does help to put rest in place. And I have had days when I don't feel good and I feel depleted. I feel I have no purpose. But I do feel the shed has helped me tremendously, and I want to commend the members I've gotten to know over the last couple of years, and that's it. That's my speech for today. Thank you.
I was employed by a company, but at 57 I had a stroke, and I was out of work at that time for over a year. I am now 63. It took me 4 or 5 years to get over the stroke. Suffered from aphasia and weakness on my left side, but I've managed to pull myself back, and I now found myself at the next stage in life, and I've come down here to the men's shed where they've been very good and very helpful in helping me get on with a plan for my next life. Well, I was primarily a family man, so and I worked in the corporate world in Ireland through from the 70s all the way up to the 2008, and I was let go a lot of times in various companies, so I didn't get a very long run in any one corporation. But I managed to travel widely through the world. I got paid well. I got to live in all parts of Ireland, and I brought up a family. So I was primarily a family man and the primary earner, and my wife stayed at home. So I was looking forward to joining her in Dublin in the end, and here I am now with her. So everything I wished for is actually transpired by accident, kind of thing.
No, I worked for Bush Ireland first, and I worked for I went from that, when I got married, I changed on to the Trinity College. Worked there for 2 years. And then I went into the IIRS, the Institute for Industrial Research and Standards. And I was doing electrical tests, which was new at that time. And we tested all sorts of things. But then they brought in the certification, the CE mark on things. So the responsibility for testing a piece of equipment went to the manufacturer, not to the shopkeeper. We had shopkeepers around Dublin who had we brought them up to court for selling cheap stuff like the Christmas tree lights, or anything I think of. So anyway, when that ended, I moved into the National Standards Authority of Ireland, and I used a Macintosh computer, and that was 36 years before I retired. And what I did was I tracked the number of standards that we were publishing, and it took a little while to write the software, but I did. And I kept track of the things right until the end. The last number was 52,000 standards we published in the 36 years. So it was, but it was fully employed for the whole 46 years.
Well, I started in Arnott's. A number of jobs I started was in Arnott's, and each step was a step up the ladder, as I thought. And then I eventually left there and went into the corporation. It was Dublin City Corporation at that time. It's now Dublin City Council. And I moved in a few various departments in the council, but I ended up a rent collector and then an estate manager in the council. I enjoyed all the time there. It's only listening to the people before me here has me thinking that my job was stressful at times, more so than I realised, especially the rent collecting and the threat of robbery and things like that. But you never think of that when you're doing the job. It was just a job at that time. But now, looking back on it, it was stressful. So I was glad when that changed. They closed down the rent collection and gave the job to the post office. The first week they done that, the arrears went up 10 million because rent collectors, by their nature, had to keep their thumb on the people, and not badly like, but you had to keep control of the area and the books. And the post office, when you went in, they went up to the counter, the boy or girl in the post office would just say, what are you paying? And you might have £60 to pay for that week, and the woman in the queue before you'd say, are you going on the show tonight? Yeah, it's great. Yeah, we're having a barbecue before it, and then we're all going to it. How much is that? 20 quid, it's great. So the 60 quid went down to 20, and the rest went on the night out with the rest of the people or whatever. But coming then up towards retirement, as you wanted to know, we were prepared. They gave us a couple of courses that we had to go and do. I never found it a great help because it's well-meaning, but the sensation of you're going from a structure to a non-structured free-for-all is never covered. So I had to try and think of something to do myself that I would do. So I made up my mind that I would do photographs and different programs on a computer, recording things and doing the family tree from way back to from 1850 up to date, and trying to get as much information as I could and all that. And I said that'll keep me going, and it did. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the photographs and that. So when the day came, I had to go. Once I came 65, I was apprehensive about it because I worked with 90 rentmen, and we were just one big group. And although they broke up the rent collection area and they phased us into two different jobs, the 90 of us were still very close and in contact all the time. We knew what everyone was doing and what was going on, and I knew then that my time to say goodbye to them was coming. And as others before me had done, they'd left and gone, and one or two of them had died, and unfortunately. But then my time, the day before I had to go, I had to make sure everything was right and everything on my books was up to date and nothing outstanding. And the next morning I went in, and it was a great it was a happy occasion, I think, in the sense. Well, maybe they were all glad to get rid of me, but it was a pretty good send off. And then we had to go down to the Mansion House for the city manager. There was a party of 30 of us, I think it was, retiring at the same time, and we were all brought down there for the presentation. We got a number of items with the presentation, and of course the photo opportunity with the city manager, the Lord Mayor, and the manager of the department that I was working in. And we got a number of items, the usual. We got a little clock, a candle up the spire, and a candle holder, and a few things like that. But it was a good occasion. I was quite happy with it, and it was well done. Now I still look back on those items, and you've the warmth feeling of those men that you worked with is still there. It'll go on forever. Well, it was probably myself that was missing out and not taking what they meant from the courses. I mean, it's all right saying you can apply for this money, you apply for that job, you go for this, so you go for that, and you look out for this. It was all based on your health and what you can look for and what help you can get. It wasn't that next morning when I should be getting up at 7 o'clock to go to work, that was gone. So you didn't know, you had no structure in that day. So I felt a bit lost for good 12 months, and I met other people that had retired around my time, and they were the same. For the first 12 months it was lonely, it was no structure, you were under her feet or the family's feet at the time, so you had to try and cope with that. And so you went out and did things. So you look for hobbies, you look for something to do. I did a lot of fishing. I cycled a little bit at the time, but not an awful lot. But fishing was the main outlet for me. But after the end of the year, you begin to realise now that I have my own little structure. It's not as formal as it was when I was in work, but I'm now doing things that I wanted to do and thought I'd be able to do, and I learned an awful lot.
I'm a retired compositor, and I suppose the compositor changed into a CAD operator over the years, because obviously hot metal was gone. So that's what I was at. 2 years before I retired, I went on a 3-day week, and in that kind of period for 2 years nearly, I learned how to play bridge. I joined senior citizens groups and things like that, because I had a cousin who retired early because they had to, and her advice was have something to do every single day, no matter how menial it is, no matter how small it is, have something to do, because if you don't, you go spare. So when I retired, I just more or less walked out the door, and then the shed came along, and I was in the shed. I was doing badminton, I was doing bowls, I was doing bridge, and life was great in a way, you know. Well, if you got rid of the coronavirus thing, it would be brilliant, because every day I had a couple of things on. I think there's today now I meet a mate of mine, George. We went out for a walk at 12 o'clock. I'm here at 2:30. I'm playing badminton at 8. And that's a fairly normal kind of day, you know.